if you want to train an AI to write Shakespeare, don't train it on Shakespeare. Let it write poems, millions, billions of poems, and let it test those poems against reality, against people actually reading the poems, and then fine-tune itself towards a poem writer that fits people's perception of what a poem should look like. Whether it's Shakespeare or not, that remains to be open. But the key here is to understand how an AI can train itself in continuous learning, like Richard Sutton is propagating. We should not use actual human written poems as a prior. We should let it write poems and figure out its own way. Now, this is in essence the conversation between Varkesh Patel and Richard Sutton recently on the podcast. And I put something on X yesterday as an answer to Andrei Karpathy, who took the effort to explain what this whole conversation is about. I don't think he did a very good job. It was a bit too convoluted for my taste. But so this is my contribution here. I think think about it this way. Like, instead of training an AI how to write poems based on poems that have been written before, whether it's Shakespeare or Emerson or Goethe, let it just write poems and then test itself. Now, there's a couple of caveats here. One would be that if we use reality, what does reality mean? Let's say human reaction to poems. And you could argue, well, it's kind of like those humans that are testing those poems, they are themselves influenced by, again, Shakespeare and so on and so forth. So they will use that as an eval. Now, my answer to that is, yeah, that's probably true, but it's still, I think you'll be surprised how creative the system could be and how also receptive the human race as a whole would be to new kinds of poetry. For example, Armenian poetry, Burmese poetry, poetry that is written in songs, like hip hop, versus poetry is written in words. There's a lot of different forms. I think we've only scratched the surface as a human race. And the reason is we just don't have the time and the scalability to iterate over so many possible scenarios. And I think that's where AI comes into place. It's very similar to the conversation we had with Periodic Labs recently. I spoke about the company which just came out of stealth. I think it's the same idea. Like, if you want to iterate across billions of possible combinations of material science solutions to a problem, you have a better chance to finding one if you just have an army of robots that can do that. And the same thing just replace robots with agents that write poems. So again, I think the continuous learning approach of Sutton is to have many iterations and to calibrate yourself against real behavior of nature and not with some prior knowledge and judgment that people put into the system. Thank you.